Hey everyone, welcome back. We talk a lot on this show about the different challenges of parenting. And this week we're diving into one that I think a lot of us can relate to, finding the balance between being a parent and, being a friend to your kids.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It is. And we've got some great source material lined up today, some really thoughtful pieces on how to be supportive and loving while still setting those all important boundaries.
Absolutely. Because, and this is important, you can't be one without the other
Exactly. So consider this your crash course in figuring out how to be both the parent your kids need and the person they actually want to hang out with
without losing your mind.
without losing your mind. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, something that I thought was really interesting in one of the articles we're looking at today is this whole idea of creating a supportive and loving environment, which, like, duh. Of course, we all want that for our kids. But it also got me thinking, how do you actually do that while still, holding down the parental fort and setting limits?
Right, because it's not always easy.
Hmm.
I think the key takeaway here, and Thorst makes this point really well, is consistency. It's not about being the cool parent, the fun one,
Hmm.
or trying to be their best friend. It's about being the parent your child can always rely on. You set clear expectations, you have boundaries, and you follow through consistently, no matter what.
That makes sense.
That predictability, that's what builds trust and helps kids feel truly supported.
It's like that solid foundation, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so we're talking about trust. And that leads me to another biggie from our source material, open communication. Which, in theory, yeah, it sounds great, but let's get real. Getting teenagers to open up, that can feel impossible. Like prying open a clamshell.
Oh, I know that struggle well.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes you just have to accept that they're not going to share everything.
Sure.
But one thing that really resonated with me from the source is this idea of modeling vulnerability.
Yeah.
Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be the grown-up here. I have to have all the answers right. But showing your kids that you don't have it all figured out, that you make mistakes too, it actually makes you way more relatable. It can really help create a safe space for them to open up.
That's a really good point because, let's be honest, we're all just winging it to some extent,
Like
right?
Hankley, we're all learning as we go.
Yeah. So true. Okay, another thing that kept popping up in our research, quality time. Which, in a world that's constantly buzzing and
Mhm.
demanding our attention, it often feels like Mission Impossible.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why it's more important than ever to be really intentional about it.
So how do we make that time really count?
You know, the source really emphasizes the importance of being present, like
Yeah.
truly present. Put those phones away,
Mm.
turn off the TV, silence the notifications, and just be there with your kids. And it doesn't have to be hours and hours,
Mm.
even short bursts of focused, connected time that can be so impactful.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Love that. Now, I do want to address something else the source talked about. Delegating tasks when you can. And while that's great advice in theory, it's not always realistic. I mean, not all of us have family nearby or the resources for regular childcare.
You're absolutely right. It's a privilege to have that kind of support system.
Yeah, and the sources did acknowledge that.
Yeah, they did. And they also encouraged us to think outside the box. So maybe you can't afford a babysitter every week,
Yeah.
but could you maybe swap childcare with another parent? Or plan an activity where you can get together with friends while the kids are entertained. I don't know, think going to the park or having a picnic. It's about getting a little creative.
I love that. Okay, so what we're hearing is finding the balance between parenthood and friendship. It's a journey. It takes effort, intentionality, and a whole lot of flexibility, but it is possible.
It is. Don't be afraid to set those boundaries. Prioritize connecting with your kids, even when life is nuts, and don't be afraid to reach out for support when you need it.
Perfectly said. And on that note, here's something I want you to think about this week. What's one small change you can make to create more of those quality moments with your kids? Even if it's just 5 minutes of uninterrupted time together, think about it. Until next time, happy diving.